we're going to look at how you roll a character. So let's roll one together. We're going to make him a community character. He's one for you, he's your character. And now normally when we do roll a character, the GM, we always stipulate, has to be present. We're lucky for all of you, I'm the GM, so I'm present. So we'll roll it. I'll be doing the rolls on your behalf. We'll be using these dice. These are the actual Dragon Age dice that you get with the box set. I may well even use him as an NPC in the Dragon Age campaign that I'm about to GM coming up. Heck, if one of the players loses their character, they could maybe even step in with this themselves. And I thought a good idea would be to base it on one of the major players of our community. So I feel that we should get Wood. Well, no, I don't quite mean it that way, as in Underwood. Yes, and you can see his channel up on screen now. That's Wood WWAD, one of the major RPG spokespersons of our community, mainly D&D based, but other games as well. Now, anyone who knows his channel, I'm sure will enjoy what is about to follow, including him himself, I hope. We're going to use him as the basis. So, Dragon Age universe, what would fit Anders' temperament? Let's see. Dwarf, I think. Based on the fact that we know what dwarfs are like, and in the Dragon Age universe they can also have American accents, you see, if you've played the games. We're going to call him Woodward. So that's all one word. In fact, actually, that would be quite a good surname, wouldn't it? All one word. Woodward, all one word. Clan, all one word. Class, warrior. Age, MYOB, which stands for mind your own business. Of course, the other benefit to this is to just show you how a character can be made, and it gives you the idea of the sort of processes you'd go through in hence rolling your character. So we know that he's going to be a dwarf. I'm seeing one of the warrior cast of Orzammar, so a noble-born dwarf. Now, the options for some of these new kind of dwarves are available in the Set 2 Player's Guidebook that comes in Box 2 for Dragon Age, which is the stuff that takes you up to level 6 to 10, but it gives you new character creation options, so we're going to take advantage of that here. All the different dwarves have their roles and they help Orzammar tick over, but the only thing that the dwarves look down upon worst is a dwarf that leaves Orzammar and becomes a surfacer, because then they aren't really allowed back. So no matter what your role is, you're held as with a lot of respect, unless of course you're a duster. But those are sort of rogues anyway, criminal type dwarves. We then head back to Tier 1's Book 1 for the Player's Guide, the books that come in that box. So on page 19 we determine our starting abilities with dice rolls. So let's get these bad boys going, shall we? Right, so the three primary stats for a warrior are Constitution, Dexterity and Strength. So he wants to really be rolling high in those. Now we have a determining abilities chart on here, and it shows all the possible rolls of 3d6 from 3 to 18, and you will generate anything from -2 to +4. So as just an example, if you ended up rolling a 3, that would give you your -2. And the only way you can get a 4, which is the highest you can be, is to roll an exact 18. The other ones are represented on the chart. So you don't just roll the dice, look at the number, and that number is the stat. Okay, you check to a corresponding chart, and then you write the answer you find on there, the character sheet. So let's do that, and then we'll look at the process as we go along. So we're going to be rolling for communication for Woodward. Let's go! So we've got a 6, we've got a 2, and the one you just can't see off screen there is a 3. That's 11, and that gives us 1 in communication. So that's not bad. So we'll write communication 1. You'll see here on the sheet, communication, you'll see focus is written in there. So when the focuses become applicable, we'll write them in. Right, this next one is Constitution. So this is the biggie. This, will affect how much health the warrior has, and he needs that health. This is not a good score. So 7 equals 0. Now, he's going to want to do something about that, and we'll talk about that in a sec. The average to have is about 1. You're sort of an average stat person if you have 1. Right, next one is Cunning. 11 again, so we know that that's 1. Dexterity. This is one of his primaries. Well, that was very good. 14. Now that gives us on the chart a 2 for dexterity. So the firing of bow-type weapons, light weapons as well, use dexterity, and of course dexterous, agile manoeuvres. So magic, really not very important unless you're going to try and become a Templar, because one of the prerequisites is magic 3 before you can go into Templar specialisation. But I don't think he will be. So magic 7. So it didn't need to be high anyway, so that gives us a 0. Now, this might seem quite bad, but this is quite normal for a Dragon Age starting character. And he's actually doing fairly okay because nothing's coming up as minuses, so there's that to look at. Perception. I'm sure you all know what that will do. Hearing, seeing, so on. 9, so that gives us a 1 as well. Strength, this is it. This is the biggie. This is the one that will do your damage with your melee weapons as a warrior. This is super important. So let's get a good one, please. Come on. 10. Well, that could have been a lot better as well. So we'll write 1 in there for that. That's what we get. And then the final one is willpower. So that's your courage, your faith, your personal morale, your mental balance. 15. That was quite impressive, and that gives us a 3 in willpower. The way we're going to do it is the way that Tier 1 suggests it, and that is that you can exchange any of the 2 attributes around. Now you've randomly rolled them. Now I do quite like the random rolling system personally. I'm a fan of it because, yes, you might have chose to become a class or whatever, but sometimes the way you're born, what you're born with, you have to just work with it, and it's not always ideal for what you want to do, but you get around it. And of course it makes things not be so cookie cutter as well, and lets them differentiate somewhat, even if they're the same class playing in the same game. Yeah, I think we need to do something about that willpower 3. I mean, it's the highest roll on here. No minuses, that's alright. So I think we need to exchange, I mean the dexterity's 2, so that's quite good. Either willpower with strength or willpower with constitution. Now constitution is 0 and strength is 1, so I'm a little worried about the constitution because he's really not going to be very survivable. He's a frontline fighter, so he needs that health there really. So I'm going to swap the constitution, especially as he's probably going to get quite good with his fighting anyway. So he'll probably build his strength up in his focuses and his martial prowess. So that's the one allowed swap you can make. So constitution becomes 3, willpower becomes 0. Now because it's one of the set 2 origin backgrounds, we now have to go back to the set 2 book again and take a look at what else we're going to do with this basic template. So because he's a highborn dwarf, we choose a caste, artisan, smith or warrior in fact. So it's going to be warrior. So we add 1 to our strength ability. You must be strong to survive the politics of Orzammar. So that's not bad, is it? The strength we were worried about is already up to 2 now. Pick one of the following ability focuses. Dexterity crafting. So literally you can make things. Strength intimidate or strength smithing. I think knowing Ander, as his online persona as we do, strength intimidate. I've certainly jumped out of my seat when he's come on screen before. So we have here, under the strength, I don't know if you can see it in the bad pencil there, but intimidate. So that means that if he was to try and do just a general strength test, he'd roll 3d6, add 2. But if he did an intimidate test, he'd do 3d6 plus 2, which is his strength, plus 2 because he's got the focus intimidate. You have magic resistance, a side effect of growing up in a lyrium-rich environment. You gain plus 2 bonus on ability tests to resist the effects of spells and other magical attacks. So this thing with the spell power where we'd go against a stat and to see if it has an effect, well, you get the plus 2 in your favour to try and stop that even happening. All dwarves have natural magic resistance. You can speak and read Dwarven and Trade Tongue. So we'll write that as well in somewhere on here, where under the languages. The real fun bit about the origins that you can choose is the 2d6 table rolls you get to do. So as a highborn dwarf, we're going to get to roll twice on this table and find out what we're going to get. Let's find out. So the first one, we've rolled a 3, and the other one, we've rolled a 7. So let's find out what they are. A 3 to 4 result always meant focus, willpower, courage. So we'll stick that in there now. So his willpower is 0. So he wouldn't get an attribute helping the 3d6 on courage test, but he would get the +2 for having the focus. And the other one was 7, wasn't it? So a 7 to 8 result, in fact, is +1 cunning. Oh, so that's interesting. So let's put the stat up. I mean, cunning's useful in its own way, even if you're only going to look at it in a martial sense, because it affects the healing you're going to attempt to do with bandages. And being a warrior, I'm sure you're going to want to be quite hot up on that. You do a cunning 11 healing test for that anyway. Starting health. So this is how much it takes before you start dying at 0. So that is 30 plus constitution, which is 3, so that's 33, plus a d6. Let's roll that. And we've got a 6. 39 health. Very impressive. Weapon groups. For the warrior, brawling, plus any 3 of the following: axes, bludgeons, bows, heavy blades, light blades, spears, or staves. So I'm seeing here, obviously, the brawling, axes, bludgeons, and heavy blades. None of that range stuff for him. Wants to get in there in the thick of it. Covered head to toe in his enemy's blood, just like the computer game. They become a novice in 2 of the following talents. Either archery style, dual weapon style, single weapon style, throwing weapon style, two-hander style, or weapon and shield style, and they start as a novice in armor training. So, dual weapon style and two-hander style. Or two-hander style in this case. As talents, these are the always-on passive abilities. So he's got dual weapon style. This is for rogues or warriors. And you must have dexterity 2 or higher as a prerequisite. Well, he has dexterity 2, so we're good to go. At novice, if you take the activate action, you gain either a +1 bonus to your melee or a +1 to defense versus melee attacks until the end of the encounter. And you can switch the bonus with another activate option. An activate option is a minor action. Remember, you can do a major and a minor in a turn, or 2 minors. So it's kind of like a warrior's stance, really. You can use it defensively or offensively. If he were to then add his next talent choice, either take a new talent, or, well, in this case, an upgrade to a talent you already have, which you can do, then at journeyman level, the next one up, it wouldn't do anything like that. It would do something completely different, and that's the fun thing about the talents. At journeyman level, they have a completely new effect. For dual weapon style, it just means you can do a particular stunt for less stunt points. So it's just another thing there to help keep things interesting. Aha! Disaster has struck. You see, this is what you've got to be careful of when you're writing these up. Because I chose the two-hander style, and then I had a look at the prerequisites, and its prereq is strength 3. And Underwood is strength 2. That ain't gonna happen. Instead, I've gone with sword and board, weapon and shield style. You need strength 1 or higher. For now, you can tell what one of his upcoming talents is going to be, therefore, and also attribute increases. So weapon and shield style means at novice, you can use shields of all shapes and sizes, and you get the full defense bonus when using a shield. So again, remember, shield is the likelihood of actually even stopping the hit from landing. It goes into your stacks into your defense. But unless you have the proper shield training, which is what this is, then you will never ever get bonuses from better shields. You'll always just get a single one. Even if you've got a great big old kite shield thing, you'll only be getting 1 out of it. You have this, you can unlock the full amount of stopping power. And then, of course, again, at journeyman level, it's a stunt-based thing. You can do something at a reduced stunt point cost. And then we have the armor training. So you've learned to fight while wearing armor. You only take the armor's penalty to your speed, while those without this talent take it to dexterity and thus to speed. Try not to get confused with this too much, guys. The heavier armor you wear, on the charts, it's got a penalty next to it. So it's got an amount of armor, and hence, damage it mitigates completely. but then it's got the penalty, and that's the penalty you usually take to dexterity. And your dexterity affects what your speed is. It's a formula, just like a lot of things in this game, such as mana and starting health. But if you have the armor training, you see, you don't take the dexterity loss, because as a warrior you might want to use that dexterity, so you don't take it as a dexterity loss, you just literally knock one off the speed. And the novice for armor training is you can wear leather and mail armor without suffering a penalty to dexterity. And they all start with heavy leather anyway, so you could even pay for an upgrade with your starting money and grab some mail straight out of the gate, pre-campaign. It's written in pencil, and they've stupidly got the word apprentice here on this sheet, but we know it's novice. So I've wrote these up here in shorthand. Dual weapon style, weapon and shield style, armor training. I've had to do like 2 on 1 line because they really haven't given you enough room for talents very much. And just a quick sort of memory jog of what these will do. And you, the player, need to be responsible for that on your sheet. You can't ask the GM to be mindful of what all of these effects are doing, because they're trying to run the whole world and run the NPCs and run the adventure for you. You need to have these prompts here for yourself. It's your responsibility, it's your character. Alright, so we'll work out some of the other things now. So, defense and speed. So that's going to be fairly important. Right, so speed is, well, for a dwarf, it's 8 plus dexterity, so it's 2, so that's 10, plus armor penalty. Right, so that heavy leather gives him a armor of 4, a penalty of 1, so the speed would be 8 plus 2 is 10, minus armor penalty, so speed 9. Not very fast at all. But then what do you expect with the dwarf? Just as I'm filling these things out on the equipment field here, we'll come back to the rest of it in a sec, we see that you start with a backpack, traveller's garb, water skin. In the case of a warrior, you get the heavy leather armour, as we've said, and 3 weapons. So we'll cover them in a moment. If you choose a bow or crossbow, you get a quiver and 20 arrows or bolts. And if you have the weapon and shield talent, you get a medium shield. Now the medium shield is quite good because it gives you a +2 bonus instead of the light shield, which would be +1. But of course, again, if you weren't sword and board talent and you had a medium shield, it would still act like it's a light shield because you can't claim the extra bonuses from shields. Now, the reason I explain all of that is because this gives us a +2 to our defense. So, because we're just working out defense now, so defense is 10 plus dexterity. That dexterity is quite important, isn't it, you see? So again, you see, if you'd have lost dexterity, you'd have lost some of your defense too. And a warrior can't be affording to do that, hence the armor training. So it's 10 plus dexterity, so that's 12, plus shield bonus, so that puts them up to 14 defense. Now, the defense is the to-hit roll, basically. So let's just say I'm trying to attack this guy and I've got strength 2, and you know, I've got a focus in the weapon I'm using. Just a general sort of thing, so I've rolled 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, if I add my strength to it, then 12, 13 because of the focus, because that adds +2. His defense is 14, so nope, I've missed, or it's, you know, it's hit the armor and sort of turned on it or something, or whatever, just glanced. No damage done, it's absolutely fine. It's quite funny here, they've got on the sheet here concept goals and ties. So you really do need something there for your character to make him fit the world and fit the group. So what I've helpfully written on here, you won't be able to read it, is, for the sake of Anders' character, just a couple of quotes, in fact. Shut your bitch-ass mouth and sit down. And the other one is, you eat some dick, you choke on some balls. Exclamation. So again, you can see why I had to roll this as a dwarf in the Dragon Age sense of the word. And then we come to what makes the world go round. Money. 1 gold piece equals 100 silver pieces equals 10,000 copper pieces. I wish they hadn't done that. Oh god, it's like World of Warcraft. Come on, help me. Oh. Right, let's roll them dice again. So you get 50 plus 3d6 silver. So that's 61 starting silver. Another stat we need to fill in, which you might find it hard to find in the main rulebook. It's on page 59, actually under the major and minor actions section, and that is the move, charge and run amounts in yards. And they suggest that you could have 2 yards to a square inch if you happen to be using sort of map tile pre-made systems or something like that. You could bring it in with your miniatures or what have you. You can move, that is just whatever your speed is, so in this case 9. Charge, which is half your move but rounded down in yards, so in this case it would be 4. And you can run, which is double your move, so that would be 18. So you could actually just spend your entire turn just on movement. You could say, right, minor action move, and then major action run, and just all movement, and basically get 27 yards if you're a dwarf, or this dwarf. Alright, so now we write up the weapons that he's going to come with. So we can select 3 weapons. So just a few quick things to say about this. When you check the weapon charts, which is on page 42 of the player's handbook, be mindful that there are minimum strengths to some things. So a battle axe would be fine, minimum strength 1. Throwing axe, minimum strength 1. Some things have no minimum strength requirement. And a short bow, for example, is -1 minimum strength. Just a couple of things like the 2-handed sword, where you would need to be strength 3 as an example. So don't accidentally get one of those without realising it. The other thing is, make sure you've got the weapon group training, or you're at a minus to hit all the time. To sort of like as a prompt, you can see here gauntlet, and I've wrote down the stat that it uses in its attack roll. And that's just a handy little prompt, really. So it's a dexterity based one. So we know that because he's got dexterity 2, he'll always have +2 to his attack rolls, and obviously when the attribute increases, you need to amend those attack rolls. They're there as a quick shorthand for you in battle to look at, so you don't have to worry. Do I have focuses? Do I have this? Do I have that? You add all that up and stick that on the attack roll, so that you only have to consult your weapon. You don't have to keep doing the maths over and over again. And yes, I know, I'm English and I said maths. That's right. Our friends across the pond say math, of course, so it's going to be one of those glaring differences between us. However, I will argue that the word does derive from the longer mathematics, which of course ends with an S, doesn't it? Just saying. Gauntlet, because, well, I can see him just randomly smacking people in the face, can't you? Just, you know, ask questions afterwards. Shut your bitch ass mouth. Smack. 1d3 plus strength. In fact, they all use strength, they're melee weapons. It's only the bows group stuff that uses perception to its damage instead. And now that's cool, right? You get to really pinpoint and hone your shot with that perception. Nice. Battle axe strength, just both 2d6s and the mace as well. So just a couple of things, a bladed one and a blunt one. So thank you for joining me in this character creation. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process as we went along and creating this particular dwarf with his particular personality. Perhaps I will be bringing him into the game and letting the players meet him at some point. And that will be our community character. So stay tuned for more videos in the series. But until then, I'll see you at the table.